Well, we knew that there'd be plenty to talk about post-election, and some of it would be around here. And it was a few months ago when we talked with Supervisor Tim Hill from Emmett Township about a Rhodes Tax they were hoping to implement. It did not fly back then, and it was back on the ballot here in the general election. And I guess no means no. Tim, you're back to talk to us about that. Good morning.
Morning. How are you?
Great. Thanks for the time today. Thanks for coming. It has been a bit of a tough nut here to try and figure out how to drum up some extra money to try and get ahead here, and or maybe even just a level playing field, with the challenges of roads.
Well, you know, it's they said no twice, and that's important.
Yeah.
It's actually very, very historic. They've made the residents made their opinion known, and we're going to go with that.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny though. The very next day, I got an email from a gentleman who was complaining about the roads, and now he's saying, "Well, let's go to assessment." And I will tell the public we're absolutely not. I have no intentions for assessments. And the reason I wanted to do an actual vote is because you want to get democracy out there, and you want people to vote on what they want to do. So for me, what we're going to look at is trying to cut the budget so we can at least get something out there. And then I'm going to go after Lansing. I'm going to lobby Lansing. I've already talked to Dr. Bizon from the 62nd, Dave Maturin from the 63rd. So I'm going to really focus this next 4 years on trying to get these roads done and try to get some of that Public Act 51 money.
Let's go back a bit here and recap for those who might not have been following this situation. There was an idea to create a tax that would help to bring you up to speed, if you will, on some roads that are in rough shape in Emmett Township. Now, that vote, that was August, wasn't it? That vote was voted down then. Why did you bring it back again?
We had it's interesting because the next entire week after that, our office kept getting flooded with calls from people who said that they had no idea that it was on the primary.
Oh,
now, unfortunately, primaries are traditionally lower voting turnout, and I wasn't comfortable about putting it on the primary because but the general election was so huge and there was so much going on, and so we did that, and they said no at that time. So I was very bound and determined, okay, hey, that's fine. I would rather know now than 2 or 3 years from now.
Mm-hmm.
But the turnout or the calls that we kept getting in the township were they were insane. It was insane. So we had talked about it at the board, and the board said, well, let's give it to them, and if they want to vote it down again, everybody knows at that time. There was a group that put out some yellow signs that said, vote for the roads and everything. So we felt comfortable that everybody had the information. We had it on our website since way before August, contrary to what my opponent was saying. And we sent flyers out. We did everything we could, and I was knocking on as many doors as I could. There's roughly 6,000 homes in this township, and I can only hit so much. But so I feel very, very comfortable with this vote, and now I know what direction I'm going in, and I'm going to lobby the state.
There were public meeting sessions and information sessions that you conducted. That was one of the things we talked about back then. In the summer about one that was coming up. So it's just that some folks were involved in their lives and just didn't notice this.
Well, it failed by 400 and, was it 412 or something? 413. And Leroy, theirs failed as well. So I think the people are tired. They're tired of being taxed. And you know what? I don't blame them. I really don't. And what I'd like to do this next 4 years is I'd like to review what kind of taxes we have going on in the county. Library tax. That's not even being put up to vote. It's perpetual.
Yeah.
And I know my board wants to challenge that, and we're going to. We're going to challenge that to get it back on the ballot and let people vote. But referring back to the road tax, my goal now is to be a shadow to Dr. Bizon and Dave Maturin, and I'm going to focus 110%. Quite frankly, you have more townships in the state of Michigan than you do counties and cities and villages. Public Act 51 is your gas tax money. When you go and you put gas in your car, that money that they use goes to cities, villages, and counties. Why are not townships part of the mix? And that's discriminatory in my book. So we are going to do what we can via lobbying. If we have to litigate this, we have absolutely no problem to litigate it. I will be talking to every township supervisor in the county so we can put a symposium together so we can go and talk to Lansing. And we will get an answer one way or the other.
Tim Hill's here from Emmett Township talking about the challenge of keeping roads smooth in the township and others as well, as you just heard. We'll take a break and come back in just a moment. Bit of a follow-up this half hour with Supervisor Tim Hill of Emmett Township. Back in the summer, we talked about a road tax and a vote. Then during the primary, it failed. That road tax was back on the ballot this week on Tuesday, failed again. So when you look at my mind is swimming with so many thoughts at the moment. When you look at the revenues that Emmett does get, are you going to need to get in there and try and find money there?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
My new administration for after this vote hasn't really started yet, but my goal is to first look at the budget and slice the daylights out of it. And once we can do that and at least maybe get some money to pay for a few miles of road, then we have 76 miles of road, contrary to what my opponent was saying. We're at around 60-something. And also the opponent was saying, Rob Rumsey was saying that per mile on our roads, our costs were more than Bedford and Penfield. Well, the county is paying 20% less than what they paid for Penfield and Bedford. So that was the other issue there, too. So we all have to really tighten our belts, and it's time to do it. And so sharing, one of the things that we're looking at, Dave Morgan is a good friend of mine. Adam over in Bedford's a good friend too. And we're going to try and get together and do some shared services too so we can help cut the costs. And that's important.
This is something that Governor Snyder talked about when he first took office, that everybody's going to have to start working together more to try and make these things happen. Right. Now, you talk about slicing the budget. Now, some people probably would say, Tim, get in there and find the money. Others might say, oh, boy, you're going to start cutting. That scares them, too. Well,
I would imagine employees it would scare. I understand that. And I really do. I understand it. However, there's ways to cut. There's also ways to, for example, me being an investment advisor, there's ways to take your money that you do have and invest it properly. So, it's all about being smart. It's not about having going in there and just drinking coffee and going home for the day, because I have not done that. I stay late a lot. I come in on weekends. And it's important. And it's funny because one of the guys I was in line drove by and he told me, why don't you go get a real job? And I looked at him, I thought, this is a real job. I love doing this. I really do. I love doing this. I like the challenges. And this is a challenge the roads are. But, I don't see it as a failure. I see it as a positive thing because now I can go to the state and I can be an absolute thorn in their side so we can get on Public Act 51 and get some of those dollars. One of the things the county told me, though, is that, because I asked the county, I said, listen, give us the roads and give us the Public Act 51. And the first thing they told me was, well, you don't have the equipment to do the roads. Well, neither do you, because you also contract these things out. So let the townships decide what they want. We're not a, what would you call it, a little whippersnapper compared to the big county or these other places. Yeah. We're a group of people that sit on the board that have great ideas. We're a legal municipality. So therefore, with that in mind, we would like what everybody else is getting. As townships, we want to be part of Public Act 51, and it needs to be done that way.
So you said 76 miles of road.
Approximately, yeah.
That's total. How much?
Actually, that is local roads. See, there's several types of roads. You have, of course, your state roads.
Yeah.
You have your county roads that they're 100% responsible for, according to Public Act 51. Then you have local roads, which are like a 50-50 match. Well, the county, a few years back, decided to go to, instead of a 50-50 match, a 70-30, where the townships have to pay, or whoever else has to pay more. So that's what we've been dealing with.
But are we talking about 76 miles of road that needs addressing right now?
Yep, over $16 million worth of work that has to be done. Now, also look at this. Your vehicle, how much does it cost for a ball joint? How much does it cost for an alignment? Those things are going to be tough. And what's really good about what's happened recently in the county is that they have gone out and been very, very proactive about filling the potholes and making them smooth. And so I like the cooperation we have with the county. I really love it. But now I'm going to go to the state and really focus on them, too.
We're going to talk more about that in just a second. Supervisor Tim Hill, Emmett Township, with us right now on WBCK 8. We're here with Supervisor Tim Hill of Emmett Township for a few more minutes this half hour. There's a lot of chatter about revenue sharing from the state and how that's dwindled. That whole Foundation for Excellence in Kalamazoo, the idea to try and shore these things up because they don't see this situation changing. In fact, coming up on Monday, we're going to talk with the folks from Michigan Citizen Action, and we're going to do a 6-part series once a month for 6 months about how they are working with municipalities, trying to help them figure out how to deal with revenue shortfalls and things of that nature, because it's everywhere. So is it as simple, Tim, then, as going to Lansing and being a squeaky township wheel, and that's all it takes?
No.
Harder than that. Okay.
Well, I can at least tell my wife, hey, I'll be in Lansing today, so don't see me, No, you got to unite with everybody, and you got to do some sharing. Like, for example, with any kind of my border communities with Penfield and Battle Creek,
Yep.
We have fire departments that also could cover some of those areas, and that would help with some money. Newton, they don't have a whole lot of money too. So, share. If you can share, let's try and share, and let's try and cooperate. And with Dave Morgan going in there and Adam over in Bedford, I'm excited about this because I think that we can, zoning. We took Kim Tuck from Battle Creek, and we have him as a contractual zoning administrator with Brandy Case or Deshawn as the deputy. There's things that you can do to try and cut the costs, and I think it's all having those ideas that are out of the box, the old cliche. But it's really you want to get the qualified people instead of having some people in government that are just not qualified, and we all know about that.
So in these cases, then. You three of you are saying we're going to try and work together here and try and be united. Is that something that has to go through an approval process?
No. I think what it is that you have your meetings, coffee meetings in the morning. You discuss, hey, there's some ideas. Dave going in there, how much zoning does he know, and stuff like that. And so, it's all about trying to serve the public. You want to, everybody goes to work, they come home, they don't want to deal with, taxes going, they don't want to deal with that. And just like this vote, they were 100%, hey, Tim, find another way.
Yeah.
And guess what? I'm going to do it. And it will not be assessments, and I'll never go back to the public and ask for another dime from these people. Absolutely not.
Well, and your point about it, allowing them to vote on that comes across a little bit more collaboratively, I suppose, than just assessing, and people feel like all of a sudden they have to
it's funny. We had a lot of people, hey, disassess. No, people need to vote on that. For example, the library millage, okay, and I'm not trying to beat them up. I love the library. But we don't get to vote anymore.
Yeah.
And so why should you have a millage that's perpetual until the end of time? It doesn't make any sense. You need to be able to vote on these things. And that's the whole point of being a republic, is that you get to vote. And people are not stupid. They know. They drive on the roads, or they know that, hey, Tim's not doing his job. We're going to vote him out of there or whatever. And thank you so much, residents of Emmett, for putting me back in for another 4 years. I really appreciate it. I will do my job, and I will get the money for these roads.
So let's say, the townships get together, they go to Lansing, they start squawking and get the attention. You've got Maturin and Bison helping you. The holes in the road are now, right? So how soon could we expect some kind of change to that? You don't just go to the state treasurer and they write you a check. And
Really? I thought they did.
It takes a little more time than that.
All I need is something, 1 6 and several zeros, so 6 zeros. But I know it's going to be time. I understand. It took almost 3 years just to get this on the ballot, because you've got to unite your board behind it.
Right.
Several of the board members are, well, the public's not going to pass it. Well, that's not for you to decide. Let the public decide. And I don't believe in assessments. I don't believe it. I think assessments take away the will of the people. And yes, you may have to have situations where, that like, for example, we have an issue with arsenic in the Cherokee Hill subdivision. Well, let's talk about it. Let's figure out ways to get to fix that, without having to go and reach into someone's back pocket, because money's dwindling. And it's, whenever you have a big pile of money, you always have a politician trying to protect it. So.
Right, that's true. So, yeah, but we'd be talking about some time before that money would flow if you were to get it, right?
I don't know. It's not going to be tomorrow, but, I've got to at least get my car and drive up and start doing these.
Right.
But I did on election night. I was talking to Dr. Bison and State Rep Maturin about, telling them, hey, if I get reelected, it's time. And this is what, and I had planned this anyway, but I wanted to make sure that the public was 100% behind me. And by voting no, it tells me, yes, Tim, you need to go find another avenue. And that's what I'm going to do.
All right. Well, we'll stay in touch and figure out how this works, and we'll be looking forward to a progress report.
Well, you got it.
All right. Tim Hill, Emmett Township. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.